أعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي وأحسن الهدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We continue on this, inshallah, on this blessed night, bi'idhnillah, Jalla wa Azz, which is November the 21st, Wednesday, 6:43 p.m., 2018 of the Gregorian calendar, which coincides with the Islamic calendar, which is now the 13th night of Rabi' al-Awwal. The 13th night of Rabi' al-Awwal, 1440 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. We continue Kitaab At-Tawheed, ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa. This chapter of Ash-Shafa'ah is one of the most important chapters in the book of Kitaab At-Tawheed, even though the whole book is very, very important. For these fundamentals, you'll find that a lot of the Muslims are lacking in. Even though you will think that they know these fundamentals, there's a lot of people, and I think especially some of us that have become Muslim, we get impressed by certain people that have probably been Muslim from other countries. And if you listen and if you talk to them, you'll find that even they are ignorant of these fundamentals that we're learning right now, no matter what country they're from, whether they be from Pakistan, whether they be from Saudi Arabia, whether they be from Egypt, a lot of different countries. You'll find that they're ignorant of these fundamentals, ignorant. And that's why they fall into what they fall into. So do not think that one is better just because he's become Muslim or he's been Muslim since he's been born. The ibrah, or what is took into consideration, is whether or not you properly learned, no matter how long you've been Muslim. And also likewise, even some of the people in this country, you'll find that the person says, I've been Muslim all these years. I knew that. And then if you talk to them, and if you hear some of their statements, you'll find that their statements necessitates ignorance in just the mere fundamentals of the religion, even though they were born Muslim. So like we said, the ibrah was took into consideration is not the fact that a person has been Muslim or what country he comes from or the duration he's been Muslim, the time frame. Rather, did he take time out to learn his religion properly? That is what's the ibrah. No matter what country he's from, no land he's from, or how long he's been Muslim. That is what's important. So like I said, brothers, do not be fooled by people who come from different countries and you see their beard down to here this long. I've spoken to people whose beard was down here this long, and they're the most ignorant people I've ever seen and spoken with in my life. No matter, even though he might wear his skin looks nice and his beard is down here, and you speak to them and they're ignorant of the fundamentals. So don't be impressed by this. Do not be impressed. Some of our people, they think in their minds just because they come from a certain country that they're well versed or they're well established in their religion as far as their understanding of it. And then it will become apparent when you converse with them that they're just as ignorant as a lot of our other people. You understand, everyone? As far as in the shafa'at, ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa, I wanted to give a little shubha, a little doubtful matter. And then I wanted to bring the refutation against it, because this is very important. As we know, there's a deviant sect called the Ahbash, the Habashi, from the followers of Abdullah al-Habashi, which their creed is as if they're in a totally different religion than what the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were upon. A lot of people, they think, especially from the deviant sect, especially from the Sufiya. The Sufiya, if you listen and read some of their principles and and their ideologies, you would think they're upon a totally different religion. Rather, it is. I shouldn't say you would think. Rather, if you took time to educate yourself. Why are you sitting over there? There's no more chair. You go in my office and get a chair. You don't have to sit there, Jamal. That don't even look right. Come on, brother. I have you sitting on the minbar. Come on, get a chair. Don't sit there. Just get a chair. I'm turning line sitting on the minbar. Yeah, it's one in there. Just get a chair. Sitting on the minbar. طيب. So we want to bring a shubha, a doubtful matter, and then we're going to bring the refutation, because that's very important. Because a lot of people would think that, and this is to show clearly how refutations are very beneficial, to give you insight and clarity to how beautiful the truth is, or how the truth comes and nullifies falsehood. One, keep in mind, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, that the Quran, you'll find that Allah Ta'ala revealed it in a certain way. Those ayats and how they are in order are all perfect. Why? Allah Ta'ala arranged those ayats perfectly so it can only be interpreted one way. So someone of falsehood tried to come, then Allah made it in His book and in His authentic sunnah of His messenger, where you will always be able to refute their falsehood. That's the reason why they're in the actual order that they're in. A lot of people say, well, why is the order that way? And then it branches off that way. That's because you'll find that the infinite wisdom of Allah, we revealed the Quran, and this is the reason why knowledge is so important. Because there's no person you'll find that brings any type of falsehood that opposes how the Quran and the Sunnah is supposed to be interpreted or how it's supposed to be understood, except that you will always be able to bring another ayah or hadith to refute their falsehood. In order to establish and show that Allah Ta'ala laid down the Quran and Sunnah be interpreted in only one manner, how He wanted to be interpreted. And any other type of falsehood that comes, you'll always be able to what? Come from the same revelation that Allah sent down. You'll be able to find truth in it in order to reject and also nullify that falsehood. Because a person will read the Quran, why is it in this order? It's for a reason why Allah Ta'ala made that order. And why He did it in that fashion, how we see it, is so that it could be interpreted one way, and that every person of falsehood that's upon, that the shaitan inspires to come with some doubtful matter or ambiguity, except that you will be able to take that text, that same ayat, and flip it against them. And I gave examples of this last week. That you'll find in the Quran and Sunnah, but you have to educate yourself. And I'm going to give an example of this right now. Any rate, just to make a long story short, Abdullah al-Habashi is filled with filth in his belief system. Filth. We think it's on a totally different religion. And from the deviant ideologies in his belief system, he said that the shafa'ah is only for the major sinners from the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He restricted the shafa'ah to only be for Ahl al-Kaba'ir, for the people of major sins on the day of resurrection. Is that true? Is that true based upon what we learned for the past couple of weeks? Is that true or not? Is it true? Is it true, Caden? It's not true. I'll read quickly what he says, and then you'll see how Ahl Ilm starts to chop him down from the Kitaab and Sunnah. So listen to what he says. This is just a clear, and I'm going to just read it in English because we got time to read it. He says that Abdullah al-Habashi, he said that the people, al-muhtajun li shafa'ahum ahl kaba'ir. He said those that are in need of the intercession are only the major sinners from this ummah, right? So then he goes on to say, of the believers, other than the people who committed major sins, they are not in need of the intercession. All right? He said, not on the day of resurrection, nor in the time of difficulty when the sun is brought close. He said, when no pain will take place, or no hardship or difficulty of hunger or thirst or what have you. He said nothing will take place of weariness or exhaustion because of their long standing that they will be on the day of resurrection, meaning from the mu'min, for the believers and the non-Muslims. Because we know on the day of resurrection, the sun will be brought close and they'll be standing for a long time. Right? So this is what he goes on to say. He says, however, Allah will raise and enlighten upon them due to their long standing of course we know, which will be, as has been established in the Sahih, that their time or the length that they will stand is 50,000 years. That Allah will make upon them the affair light. He said, due to their obligatory or the obligatory salah that they establish. As for the hellfire, they will not enter it because there's no need for any shafa'ah. There's no need for any what? Intercession. This is what he says. So he says, what's the indication to that is that the Messenger of Allah said that my intercession is for the what? Is for the major sinners of my ummah. So he used a dalil. So he used the evidence, right? Jayid. There's other stuff too. I just want to jump into the refutation. So I noticed that he used istadal. He used the evidence. But he brought some speech to say that basically the intercession is only for the people of major sinners from the Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, everyone? Right. We said that that's not true. What are the evidences and proofs? The evidences and proofs that we're going to read. Right. Firstly, you'll find the refutation against this statement, which is totally opposes Kitaab and Sunnah. This is the statement of Abdullah al-Habashi. So he says, the statement of Abdullah al-Habashi, of course we know, opposes all the authentic proofs and texts, that affirms the different various types of intercessions. Not just only what? The intercession for the people of major sins, in which we'll mention. He said, firstly, we know, number one, which all of you, alhamdulillah, have, inshallah, written down. Number one is the shafa'atul uzma, the major what? The major intercession, which will be the first, and it will only be specifically for the Messenger of Allah from the rest of the what? Prophets and messengers, where he will be only given that what? That right and that privilege. However, we know that that particular intercession is general for who? For the people of Ahl al-Mawqif. That we said the people of Ahl al-Mawqif that will be standing a long time and the sun will be what? Brought close. After that severe difficulty in which they will be afflicted with. From everyone. Not only just what? Not only just the mu'minun, but also the what? The kuffar, both. Right? He says, even though this type of difficulty that they will be facing will be of different levels between those who are a disbeliever and a Muslim. As it comes in the hadith al-Bukhari. Now listen to this. So now he's bringing evidences and proofs that we're refuting Abdullah al-Habashi. As it comes in al-Bukhari, which comes in the Sahih, on the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar, it says, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يزال الرجل يسأل الناس حتى يأتي يوم القيامة ليس في وجهه مزعة اللحم وقال إن الشمس تدنو يوم القيامة حتى يبلغ العرق نصف الأذن فبينما هم كذلك استغاثوا بآدم ثم بموسى ثم بمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم فيشفع ليقضى بين الخلق to the end of it. So it starts off in the hadith, which is on the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar. It says that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu said in the first part of the hadith that a man will continue begging and asking people until he will come on the day of resurrection and he will not have a skin of flesh on his face. So then it goes on in the hadith. This is to what? To show how begging in our religion is what? Highly condemned. Unless a person is in a very dire, extreme circumstance. It's something different. But just to beg, even though he's not in need of it, is what? Condemned. But at any rate, that's part of the hadith. But listen as it goes on. He says, verily the sun will be brought close on the day of resurrection until sweat will reach with some people, as we know, nisful udhun, to half part of their ear. Because they'll be drowning in their what? Sweat. Right, everyone? He says, whereas they will be like that, they will seek relief from Adam, then Musa, then the Prophet ﷺ. They will intercede in order that what? لِيُقْضَى بَيْنَ الْخَلْقِ. He says, in order for the judgment to start between the people. فَيَمْشِي حَتَّى يَأْخُذَ بِحَلْقَةِ الْبَابِ. Then the Messenger of Allah also will walk until he takes the rings of the door of paradise. And on that day, Allah will send and raise and give the Messenger of Allah that status which is called Al-Maqam Al-Mahmud, that high status. in which all the people who be gathered on the day of resurrection will praise the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for that what? That status. So that's one narration. Another narration is in Bukhari. The authority of Abdullah ibn Umar, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says, "Inna nas yasiruna yawm al-qiyamah juthan." He said, on the day of resurrection, the people will become to what? To kneel. And I think that's in one narration. Or they will be facing great difficulty. I think that's the meaning of juthan here. He said that every nation, they will follow its prophet. And they will go to each prophet and they will say, Ishfa'. He says, intercede. Until the shafa'ah will what? Will end up to the Messenger of Allah. And then, on the day of resurrection, Allah will send and give the Messenger of Allah that what they call al-maqam al-mahmud, that high status. Right? Fine. So that's one refutation to show that what? That statement of Abdullah al-Habashi is what? Incorrect. Because this is shafa'ah. Is it for only just the people with major sins? It's not. It's not. This is to show what? Just for the day of resurrection to start. And also to relieve them from the difficulty they would be facing. From the long standing. And you notice, like we said, on the day of resurrection, is understood that they will be standing, which is understood in the hereafter. Of the time, which is equivalent, what we understand as 50,000 years. 50,000 sana. طيب. Also, likewise, the sun will be brought close. And we said in the last class that the sun will be brought close. One explanation says, لِقَدْرِ الْمِيلِ, the distance or the amount of a meal. One of them say that it means right in front of everyone's face, that the sun will be that close to everyone. And one narration it says that it will only be a mile away. Upon it, both understandings, we understand that what? That the sun will be extremely close. طيب. So that's one refutation against Abdullah al-Habashi and this type of what? Doubt that he brings to say that the intercession is exclusively for the people of major sins. So that's one narration. Another narration. We said, based upon what everyone has in their books. This is the reason why I tell everyone to memorize and study this in your house, because it's very important. So when people bring these type of doubtful matters, you'll already have in your mind your weapon, your weaponry of what? Of knowledge. Not weaponry of guns, weaponry of knowledge to combat this with. You're already being programmed in your mind. Bang. Shafa'at al-uzma. Bang. Shafa'at to what? The Prophet ﷺ will be what? Will be granted shafa'at for the people to enter paradise. This is another shafa'at. So now we get on to the second part when we dismantle this particular ambiguity or this doubtful matter what we're mentioning right now. So number one is the shafa'at of ahlul al-mawqif, when the people will be standing long for the relief of the difficulties that they will be in. So that's number one. Number two, of how we refute this ambiguity, الشفاعة لدخول المؤمنين الجنة, the intercession for the believers to enter paradise. Listen to this hadith. On the authority of Anas ibn Malik, all these hadith are on Bukhari and Muslim. They are in the Sahihain, or one of the two. On the authority of Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu, this is the next refutation against what Abdullah al-Habashi said. He said, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنا أول الشفيع في الجنة. I'm the first one who will intercede for paradise. What is the Messenger of Allah saying? Meaning, لم يصدق نبي من الأنبياء ما صدقت. Now listen to this part. وإن من الأنبياء نبيا ما يصدقه من أمته إلا رجل واحد. الله أكبر. He said, verily, I am the first that will intercede for paradise to be open. He says, there has been no prophet of the prophets that has been believed how I was what? Believed in. Verily, they are from the prophets. There will be a prophet. No one believed in him from his nation except one man. One man. So that shows that he was upon the haqq, that prophet. And nobody followed him except what? One. So as the Ibrahim took in consideration that hundreds and thousands of people find, for example, are following Zakir Naik and all this other nonsense, does that mean he's upon the truth? Rather, we know Allah Ta'ala says in his book, if you obey the majority of the people of the earth, in tuti' akthara min fil ard, yudilluka an sabilillah. You obey the majority of the people of the earth, they will what? They will mislead you. They will misguide you. So you have a prophet on the day of resurrection that will have what? One follower. He was upon the truth in this world. Nobody followed him except what? One individual. Which shows that the majority were upon what? misguidance and error. And that the majority of them were also what? Inhabitants of the hellfire. Does you understand what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. Listen to this hadith as it goes on. And Anas ibn Malik. Anas ibn Malik also mentioned it said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم آتي باب الجنة يوم القيامة فأستفتح فيقول الخازن من أنت فأقول محمد فيقول بك أمرت أن لا أفتح لأحد قبلك. He says, I will come to the door of paradise and I will seek it to open. And the one who's the khazin, the gatekeeper, the one who's been entrusted, will say, who are you? He said, I'm Muhammad. He said, for you, I've been only commanded that I will not open this door before you, except only for you, basically. So that's another shafa'ah to show what? That's not only just for what, everyone? Not just only for the major sinners. You understand so far? طيب. The third shafa'ah is the shafa'ah or the intercession of lightening the punishment off for only one individual. Who's who? Abu Talib. الشفاعة في تخفيف العذاب عن عمه هو أبو طالب فقط دون غيره. وهذه الشفاعة, this is only for the message of Allah exclusively. For his uncle Abu Talib, as we know. I don't have to go into that because there's other things I wanted to read. But that's clear. All right, everyone? So that's another refutation. Fourth refutation. The shafa'ah for raising the degrees, or levels of people from Ahl al-Jannah, or the people of paradise. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's the other what? Shafa'ah. It says, as it comes in the Sahihain, thabata fi Sahihain, and other than them from Hadith Abi Musa al-Ash'ari. What was Abu Musa al-Ash'ari's name, everyone? Again, his name was Abdullah ibn Qais. Keep in mind, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari's name was Abdullah ibn Qais. Abdullah ibn Qais. At any rate, as it comes in the Sahihain, it said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu he says that he ba'atha ammahu Abu Amir, that the Messenger of Allah, that he sent his uncle Abu Amir, which comes in Sahih al-Bukhari and is in Muslim. Abu Amir. He said he sent his uncle Abu Amir and he made him responsible over the army to Otas. And Otas, I think that was, what was in the Ghazwa to Tabuk. I think they call it Ghazwa to Otas. Otas was another name for Ghazwa to Tabuk. They called it Otas. Anyway, his uncle, someone wounded him with an arrow. And it was a fatal wound. And it punctured his what? His leg. And he said to Abu Musa, Yabna Akhi, go to the Messenger of Allah and read him and give him salams for me. Say to him, Abu Amir, say to the Messenger of Allah, seek Allah's forgiveness for me. And also, قال واستعملني أبو عامر على الناس. He says also Abu Amir placed me in charge. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari saying he placed me in charge over the people. And he remained a small period of time, then he died. I went to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu and I entered upon him and I told him of what happened. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu sought forgiveness for his uncle Abu Amir and for me. So he said he asked, of course you know his uncle went told Abu Musa al-Ash'ari to the Messenger of Allah, seek forgiveness for me. So the Messenger of Allah had called on a container of water, he made wudu. Then he raised his hands and he said, Oh Allah, forgive Ubayd Abi Amir. He says to the point where I seen the whiteness of his armpits. So he raised it that high. Then he said, فَرَأَيْتُ أَبَيَاض إِبْطَيْهِ I seen the whiteness of his armpits. ثم قال اللهم جعله يوم القيامة فوق كثير من خلقك أو من الناس. Oh Allah, make him on the day of resurrection above a lot of those of the creation or of the people. فَقُلْتُ So Abu Musa al-Ash'ari said, Oh, a message of Allah, seek forgiveness for me too. So the message of Allah said, Oh Allah, forgive Abdullah ibn Qais. Who's Abdullah ibn Qais? Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. Forgive Abdullah ibn Qais his sins. Enter him in a paradise, an honorable, noble entrance. Jayyid. So that is to show the shafa'ah, the message of Allah, for raising some of the believers in degrees. Also, we know the hadith is Sahih Muslim for Abu Salama. طيب. Also, there's another shafa'ah. There's another shafa'ah. There's some of Ahl Ilm that also bring another one. And I wanted to add this on to what was mentioned. And I think this is not in your books. There's a intercession for those to enter paradise without any account or any reckoning. And I think I didn't give you guys this one. There's a intercession for the people to enter paradise without any reckoning, no account. As it comes in the Sahihain on the authority of Ibn Abbas, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عرضت علي الأمم فأخذ النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يمر معه الأمة والنبي يمر معه النفر والنبي يمر معه العشرة والنبي يمر معه الخمسة والنبي يمر معه وحده فنظرت فإذا سواد كثير قلت يا جبريل هؤلاء أمتي. Just kind of finish it and finalize it so we can get to the other part. He says that all the nations were shown to me. So the message of Allah started to pass by a nation. Then a small group or a group of them passed by. Then there was a group that were 10. Then there was a group that was 5. Then there was a group where their prophet had what? 1. He says, then I seen a great blackness. And I said, Jibreel, this is my ummah. He said, no. However, look to the horizon. And he said, I've seen another huge type of blackness. He said, that's your what? Nation. He said, 70,000. He says, قُدَّامَهُمْ لَا حِسَابَ عَلَيْهِمْ. Those in the forefront will have no reckoning upon them, nor punishment. He said, why? He said, because he didn't get cauterized, nor did they seek an incantation, nor did they believe in evil omens or bad luck or what have you. And upon their Lord, they put their what? Their trust. He says, until we know the end of the hadith where Ukash ibn Mihsan stood up to the end of the narration. So it goes on to say, in another narration, on the authority of Abu Hurairah, this is all in Bukhari and Muslim and all in the Sahihain. He says, they will enter in paradise, Zumratun hum sab'una alfan, tudi'u wujuhahum ida'at al-qamar. That they will come and enter paradise, a group who are 70,000. Their faces will be enlightened, the light of the moon. The moon being full, or in the night when the moon is full, until the end of the hadith when Ukash ibn Mihsan stood up. Fine. So right now, we brought the falsehood. And we brought text to what? Nullify it. So all these texts right here clearly shows what? That a person made a statement and that the truth came and what? Has refuted it, rejected it. That this is not an acceptable statement. From those from the ulama of the past, as we know, from the great Imam, from the A'imma, his name was Ibn Abi Asim. He has a book called As-Sunnah by Ibn Abi Asim. He said, وَالْأَخْبَارُ الَّتِي وَرَوَيْنَا عَنْ نَبِيِّنَا فِيمَا فَضَّلَهُ اللَّهُ بِهِ مِنَ الشَّفَاعَةِ وَتَشْفِيعَهُ إِيَّاهُ فيما يشفع فيه أخبار موجبة بعلم حقيقة ما حوت على ما اقتصصنا والصاد عن الأخبار الموجبة للعلم المتواترة كافر. Ibn Abi Asim, number 1, has said this affair of the shafa'ah is mutawatir. It's mutawatir, meaning there's too many texts that have came and have been firmly established and been authentically reported upon the message of Allah for one to reject it. This affair of the shafa'ah is from those affairs that are mutawatirah, meaning that there's been more than what? Probably that has reached more than by 30 Sahaba have related, if not more, that have related in this affair, either directly or bringing other texts that have affirmed it about the shafa'ah. It's been firmly reported, establishing that it be for not only just the people of major sins, but other than them. Listen to what Ibn Abi Asim goes on to say. He said, these reports and narrations that we have narrated upon our Prophet, in which Allah has preferred him, of the shafa'ah, meaning allowing the Messenger of Allah to be and intercede, one to intercede, of what has brought of authentic reports that brings the obligation of what? Knowledge of what is the true reality, which contains of what we just what? Maqtasasna, of what we just established. And that one that tries to oppose and take away this or reject or cause some type of doubt, for one to reject all these narrations that have been mutawatir, who rejects it is a disbeliever. It's nullified his Islam. If he rejects it, he's talking generally. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? He said, may Allah ja'alana Allahu wa kullu mu'minin biha mu'amminun laha min ahliha. May Allah make us amongst those who believe in this and hope for it and make us from this people. So then he goes on to say, for you'll find that ithbat, those from the ulama who have established and firmly believe in the shafa'at, of what some of them say there are 5 and some of them say there are 8. And some of them include, they basically broke it down how I broke it down to you in your books that we have gave the brothers for the past couple of weeks. And some of them put it together. Like we had some that are what? It's only for the message of Allah. Then you had some that are what? For the message of Allah, other than the message of Allah. Just to sum up what we gave everyone in the previous class, right? Right or wrong? Is everyone with me? You sure? I don't want people, because some people look at me like that. Is it not? Then we wrote down the different types of intercessions that are only for the message of Allah and intercessions that are for the message of Allah other than the message of Allah. Gee. From those of the ulama of the past who have talked about this matter is Al-Qadi Iyad. Al-Qadi Iyad, the great Imam. Al-Qadi Iyad had mentioned that there are 5 intercessions. From them he mentioned it said Al-Qadi Iyad مختصة بنبينا محمد وهي الإراحة من هول الموقف وتعجيل من هول الموقف وتعجيل الحساب. Al-Qadi Iyad said that the first of them is specifically and exclusively for our message from our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, which is to relieve the horror of the mawqif, where the people will be standing a long time, and for the hastening of what? Of the reckoning to start. So it can be hasted, so it can commence as soon as possible. Because the people will be what? Be in a very difficult what? State, circumstance. So that's what Al-Qadi Iyad. It's from the great Imam of the past. He says, secondly, you'll find there are people who idkhal qawm al-jannah dun hisab. People who will be entered in the paradise, who is shafa'ah for the message of Allah, who will be entered without any reckoning. That's also been established. For number 3 is the people that deserve the hellfire, and that the Messenger of Allah will intercede for them, who Allah will for him to intercede for. Then you have a 4th, those who will enter the hellfire. In which they will enter the hellfire from the people of the Ummah Muhammad ﷺ. And we know those narrations in which they will be what? Brought out. That's clear. Then you have the shafa'ah, as he says, and I think you guys already read this now, of augmenting and raising the levels of paradise for its people or its inhabitants. Then you'll have from those same ulama who now condemns anyone that rejects these texts from the Salaf, from those ulama who are what? That their statements are recognized and considered, that totally reprimand and rejects those who what? Deny these texts. So listen to what some of them say. لا تكون إلا, for those who say that the shafa'a is only exclusively for those from the major sinners of the Ummah Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, فإنكارهم على من يحصلها في أهل الكبائر أشد وأولى. قال القاضي عياض رحمه الله: وعرف بالنقل المستفيد سؤال السلف الصالح لشفاعة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ورغبتهم فيها على هذا. لا يلتفت لقول من قال إنه يكره أن تصل الله أن يرزقك شفاعة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لأنها لا تكون إلا للمذنبين، فإنها قد تكون كما قدمنا لتخفيف الحساب وزيادة الدرجات، ثم كل عاقل معترف بالتقصير. He says a tremendous statement, very profound and very important. The great Imam of the past, Qadi Iyad, who also had explained Sahih Muslim. He has a tremendous explanation by Qadi Iyad and other books that the great Imam had mentioned. But at any rate, he says it's been known by Naqli al-Mustafid, by numerous narrations that have been authentically reported upon the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that cannot be rejected or denied because it's too many. He says how the Salaf as-Salih used to ask Allah for the shafa'ah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and their desire in it upon what we just mentioned, despite the fact that it's not turned or listened to or given any attention to the one who says that it is detested to ask Allah to give you. What's wrong? To give you the shafa'ah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to grant you this, and that they say that it is only for the major sinners. And we just said that this is what? Absolute falsehood and absolute what? Nonsense. He said, فَإِنَّهَا تَكُونُ كَمَا قَدَّمْنَا. He said, verily it will be, just as we established, and just as we just said, it will be for relief of one's recompense, meaning that he enter paradise directly, without any reckoning or account. And also raising and augmenting the levels of paradise for certain people. And every person that's an aqid, that has true understanding, recognizes how much short they come up in their actions. He says everyone with true understanding acknowledges and recognizes his taqsir, how much he comes up in short in his actions. Where's he going with all this? That all of them are going to what? Want the shafa'ah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that all of them are in need for forgiveness. وَغَيْرُ مُعْتَدٍ بِعَمَلِهِ. And they also look down upon their actions and what they came up short with, until the point where they're afraid that they will be from those who are destroyed. All right? He says, and it's binding upon the one who makes this statement, who say that they don't need the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam shafa'ah. They don't need it, or we don't need it, or it's only for those of the major sinners, that they will not ask Allah or make dua for forgiveness or mercy. He says, because لأنها لأصحاب الذنوب أيضا وهذا كله خلاف ما عرف من دعاء السلف والخلف. He said, because they saying that this is not only just for just sins, and that's it. He said, all of this is in contrast to what was known and firmly established from the dua of the Salaf and those of these days and times. So they used to make dua that Allah grant them the shafa'ah, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not because they were what? Thinking they were just major sinners, but for other reasons. So it wasn't from the what? The ways that they do was just say, oh, just grant me the shafa'ah because I'm a sinner. No, they want the shafa'ah for other purposes. Maybe inshallah that Allah will make them from those who will enter paradise without any reckoning or account, and they will be granted that by the shafa'ah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also what the person would need to enter paradise. Because we just mentioned and said that a person, in order for them to enter paradise, the gate will have to be opened by the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all the other different types of what? Intercessions we just mentioned. So this statement that he mentioned and said is all what? False. Due to all these different what? Texts that we just mentioned. So a person now will come along and say that they are not in need of an intercession on the day of resurrection, especially after the person has what? Entered the hellfire. That's all contradictory. How is the person going to get out? He says what? أما غير أهل الكبائر فليسوا محتاجين للشفاعة لا في القيامة ولا بعد دخول بات العباد النار. فحديث الشفاعة الطويل يرد على الحبشي ومن خلاله يتبين أن للذين يطلبون الشفاعة هم المؤمنون وليسوا أهل الكبائر فقط وإليك لفظ الحديث. He says, we know that Ahl Kabair are not the only ones that's going to seek the Shafa'ah on the day of resurrection. And we know that some of the ibad will enter the hellfire from those who are upon Tawheed. And the only way that they will get out is how, everyone? By the Shafa'at, the different types of intercessions. That's the only way they will get out. By the Shafa'at of the Malaika, from the prophets, the messengers, the mu'mineen, and the Siddiqeen, of those from the truthful ones, and the martyrs, until there's no one left except Allah Himself. That Allah will what? That Allah will grip them. Take a grip, and Allah will grip and pull them out of the hellfire. Allah Himself will pull them out. It says, فَيَقْبِضُ اللَّهُ قَبْضَةً فَيَقْبِضُ أَقْوَامًا لَمْ يَعْمَلُوا خَيْرًا قَطْ قَدْ عَادُوا حَمَمًا. It says in the narration. It says that Allah, after the shafa'at of all the prophets and the messengers, after there will be people that are into hell from the people of Tawheed, from the people of the Qibla. And the only one that will be left is Allah, that will grip a grip, and He will pull them out. And they did not do any good, except that they had what? An atom's weight of faith, or lower than that, or Adam's weight of faith to the end of it, right? That's we just mentioned it said. Also likewise, listen to what the great Imam of A'imma, Imam al-A'imma, which is in his book called At-Tawheed by Ibn Khuzaymah. Ibn Khuzaymah said, هذه الشفاعة التي وصفنا أنها أول الشفاعات هي التي يشفع بها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ليقضي الله بين الخلق فعندها يأمر الله عز وجل أن يدخل من لا حساب عليه من أمته الجنة من الباب الأيمن. Listen to what they called him Imam al-A'imma, the Imam of the Imams, Imam ibn Khuzaymah, rahimahullah. And he said in his book called At-Tawheed, and I have it, it's in 2 volumes, At-Tawheed by the great Imam al-A'imma, Ibn Khuzaymah. He said in his book called At-Tawheed, he said this intercession in which we describe, he says this is the first intercessions in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ will intercede by, in which Allah Ta'ala will judge between the creation. And upon that, Allah Ta'ala will enter into paradise those who will not have any recompense upon them. So those who will enter paradise without any recompense is also due to what? Due to the shafa'ah of the Messenger of Allah. And Ibn Khuzaymah said they will be asked to enter paradise by the right door, al-Bab al-Ayman, by the right side of the door of paradise, al-Bab al-Ayman, which comes in what? Kitaab At-Tawheed by Ibn Khuzaymah. Also the great Imam Abu Abdullah al-Qurtubi, he goes on to say, مبين الوجه الاستدلال بهذا الحديث عن الشفاعة العظمى وقوله فيقال يا محمد أدخل الجنة من أمتك من لا حساب عليه يدل على أنه شفع فيما طلب من تعجيل حساب أهل الموقف فإنه لما أمر بإدخال من لا حساب عليه من أمته فقد شرع في حساب من عليه حساب من أمته. Listen to this part. The great Imam Abu Abdullah al-Qurtubi goes on to say, he said the point of how we use these texts as an evidence by these hadith, especially for the major shafa'ah, the major intercession. He says, it will be said, O Muhammad, enter into paradise of your ummah those who have no reckoning upon them. Which is a clear indication that the message of Allah will be granted an intercession from what was requested of hastening the what? The recompense or the commencement and for the judgment of the people who will be standing, Ahl Mawqif. For verily you'll be commanded to enter into paradise those who had no reckoning upon them from the Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam of what was legislated, meaning in regards to those who has no reckoning, no account from his Ummah. Meaning that it will take place at that particular time. Meaning on the day of resurrection, when the sun will be brought close, The message of Allah, as we know, will prostrate under the what? The outshes. It says in your books. It's in your books, everyone. No one looks in there now because you're supposed to look in your houses. So you should know where it is. As I told brothers again, stop just bringing these books just to class and it just gets read right now. No, you're supposed to be reading this at home. 15 minutes is all it takes out of your time. That's it. You could take it at your desk, at your job, on your break, while you're eating and read it. Read the book. 15 minutes of the most important thing of your whole life. This right here. Kitaab At-Tawheed. Most important thing out of your whole life, and Shaitan puts it on our mind, is the least of our worries. Or the least important, excuse me. The least important. Soon as you die, what's the first thing that takes place? Everything that's learned in this class starts to take place. Who's your Lord? That's Aqidah. Who's your prophet? Aqidah again. What's your religion? Your Aqidah, your belief system again. That's the first thing that starts when you're put under the dirt. Everybody walks away. The angels talk to you about your Aqidah, your belief system. Of what? We learn in Usul al-Thalatha that nobody hardly comes to the class to. That is the first thing that everyone will be asked about in their grave. And despite of that, nobody comes. Except some few of our sisters. The whole book was made towards the questions of the grave, of protecting and preparing you as soon as you die. What does Shaitan put in our mind? Least important. Also, Kitaab At-Tawheed. Where's your books at? Oh, it's in the back of the car. I can't find it. Oh, it might be thrown under a desk or drawer somewhere. That's how we do. For the most important thing out of your whole life, more important than your food, your drink, your children, everything. It's the rectification and preparation of your soul as soon as you die. So it goes on to say, in this, وَمِمَّا يُؤَكِّدُ أَنَّ مَنْ طَلَبَ الشَّفَاعِ لِأَهْلِ الْمَوْقِفِ هُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. He said, for those who will also seek the shafa'ah, for the people who be standing a long time with the believers. In contrast to what Abdullah al-Habashi believes, which is still to this day his main masters on 45th and Spruce in West Philadelphia. They are from these people that follow this man. So it goes on to say, مَا ثَبَتَ فِي إِحْدَى رِوَايَةِ حَدِيثِ الشَّفَاعِ الطَّوِيلِ, of what comes in the authority of Anas ibn Malik, said that the Messenger of Allah said that Allah will gather the believers on the day of resurrection, and they will say, لَوْ اسْتَشْفَعْنَا إِلَى رَبِّنَا حَتَّى يُرِيحَنَا مِنْ مَكَانِنَا هَذَا. He says they will come on the day of resurrection. He says, why don't we seek the shafa'ah with our Lord so we could be relieved of this status, of this state we're in. We're in the Muslim. He says that Allah will gather believers on the day of resurrection, and that is what's going to be on their mind. That's all they're going to care about. Not going to care about anything else except that they want to be relieved from all this difficulty and all these different horrors that they're facing. طيب. قال النووي, Allah will inspire them to ask the different prophets. Of course, until it will be what? Given to the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. So all this is to what? To show nonsense of Abdullah al-Habashi. That what he said was a statement that clearly opposes what? Kitaab and Sunnah. That it's only for what? Only for the people of major sinners from his ummah. Which is all what? Batil. It's all nonsense. Is it clear what I'm saying? Just brothers and sisters, this is to keep in mind how Allah revealed the Kitaab and Sunnah. Also, it could be what? Interpreted one way. There's not a key, but an ayah in the book of Allah or a text from the Sunnah message of Allah, except that anyone comes with some falsehood, there's in that same text that you can use against them. Because the way Allah revealed this, the perfect last religion to all humanity and way of life to all humanity, Allah arranged those ayats in the book so no one can what? Bring any falsehood in it. And the only way you can discover this is by reading refutations. And you'll see that that's the reason why Allah arranged this the way it's arranged. Because nobody can what? Bring any falsehood to corrupt it. Because it only can be what? Interpreted one way in which Allah intended to be interpreted. In contrast to those other denominations and other deviant sects, whether they be from the deviant sects from the Christians and the Jews and the Muslims, who a Messenger of Allah ﷺ had mentioned and said that all of them be in hell except one, which is those who understood it that one way Allah intended it to be understood. Is it clear what I'm saying? And the reason why I was mentioning that hadith was what? The Sahaba. Meaning that that's the only understanding that is what? Acceptable. Any other way is misguidance. And this clearly shows that these texts refute that ambiguity. And you see how in Kitaab and Sunnah, how we took those texts and flipped it against them in a statement. Clearly. Right or wrong? You see it here. Tayyib. How many minutes I got left? I ain't hear no ringing yet. Tayyib. Well, that's to show how everyone, this is from what's out here. People, Muslims that make these type of statements. There's more that I wanted to talk about, but for right now, I guess we'll suffice for that. There we go. Tayyib. Getting back to your books. Read to the last part of the chapter. One day, inshallah, I'm going to start giving health classes too. Inshallah, to try to teach everyone and try to eat things that will keep them energetic. And one thing I'm trying to get everybody off of is the sugar. If I can get sugar out of everyone's diet, that would be what? That would be very ideal. Sugar is what takes you up and it will crash you. It will take you up very fast and you will go like this in class. That rhyme too. Is it clear? Is it understood, everyone? It shoots your sugar up real high. That's dangerous too. You guys don't realize that. Sugar will take you and going up too high, and then it will go extremely low. That's dangerous, extremely. A lot of people don't know that. Inshallah, we'll try to talk about that in a later class or later lesson. So to get everyone off their sugar would be very ideal. So you could be energetic when you're supposed to be. Tayyib. In regards to this, and also I know some of the brothers work, so we take into consideration their situation for them working. But the guys who are the children, I don't have no excuse for them. Children, you're supposed to be up, young youth. You're supposed to be better than us, the people that got gray hairs and getting old, have jobs. You guys supposed to be up. Inshallah, I'm going to start you guys on some little bit tips to keep you energetic. The first tip is to get you guys off this sugar. Sugar is destructive. I don't know how I can put much emphasis on it. How sugar is destructive to one's health. Very destructive. Even natural sugar, you got to watch it. A lot of people say, it's no natural sugar, fruit. Fruit is natural sugar is good. No, even natural sugar fruit, you got to watch it. You have to watch it. Your body only needs 2 tablespoons of sugar per day. That's basically all it needs. And we taking gallons of it per day. Then you wonder why it starts to malfunction after a while. Things that we never even heard of. That they say 70. Go online with you guys after class. Google and see how many people are insulin resistant in America. How many people, how high the percentage is to 70 to 80%? That is an epidemic. Are insulin resistant. And insulin resistance come from what? Sugar. And insulin is not sugar. I want everyone to know that. Insulin is not sugar. Insulin is the security measure. The sugar are the villains in your body, and the sugar is the cops that put the sugar in jail. That's what insulin is. That's why people who have amputated parts of their body, it's from the what? The sugar that was running around in the bloodstream, that the insulin was, yet your body stopped manufacturing it. Because the insulin, like I said, is the cops in your body. They take the sugar and they put it in the cell, which truly are the cells in your body. But if it's floating around in your body and your cells reject the insulin, who are the cops, opening up the door, say, open up, let the criminal in, who's the sugar running around in your bloodstream. If they start saying, no, it's overcrowded, get out of here, then it keeps flowing around your bloodstream. Then you start to have other problems. Very dangerous. So, inshallah, I'm going to teach you guys, that's the first step. I'll teach you about that later. But now, like we said, insulin are just to make it simplified, insulin are the cops in your body and the sugar is the villain. So it's 2 separate things. When that sugar goes up in your body releases out of the pancreas, what? The cops release it. Go get the sugar. Put it in the cells. So it's a security measure. So your body basically, when you eat sugar, it goes into a security defense measure. Because it's dangerous, it's poisonous, it's toxic to your body. That's why people who have diabetes have what? Amputated limbs, overweight, brain function, brain functions, eyesight, become blind, because sugar is toxic to your body. And I'll talk to you guys about it later. But what's one of the reasons? I'm trying to get everybody off there. Inshallah, if I ever had the time, we could teach people how to eat a little bit better, especially starting with our youth, because our youth was supposed to be up. Tayyib, brothers. We last read the Masail. Go ahead. That was just a side benefit. Tafadal. Just the last thing a person would say was diabetes. Diabetes is to the point where your body keeps manufacturing so much insulin until the receptors in the pancreas burn out because it's tired, it's exhausted. You worn it out. So that's the reason why people have diabetes have to take what, everyone? Insulin. Because your body stopped manufacturing it, because you burnt it out, because you eat too much sugar. Is it clear? Jade, tafadal. Who wants to read it? Jade. So number one. No. Oh. That's the statement of Shaykh al-Islam, right? Read it again. I'm sorry, Shaykh Ali. Tafadal. I'm sorry. Read it one more time for me. All right, Jade. Yeah. So everyone see where he's reading? Everyone see where we're at? So what's negated? The ayats are pertaining to negation. What's it concern, Camden? You read in the book of Allah, Allah is negating a shafa'ah. Negating in the shafa'ah in the Quran is pertaining to what? We just read here. Jade. The shafa'ah is shafa'ah shirkiyah. Polytheistic type of intercession that has polytheism in it. Either, number one, by one seeking it from other than Allah. You understand? We just read here in this refutation that the Salaf used to ask Allah to grant the message of, to allow the message of Allah to intercede for them, right? That they never asked the messenger of Allah. They used to ask Allah ask Allah to allow the message of Allah to go out, intercede for them. Taib. So if you raise your hands in dua and you say to Allah, you say, "Oh, message of Allah, intercede for me." That's what the message of Allah, and that's what Allah is negating in this book. So that type of shafa'ah is polytheism. That's negated. And the shafa'ah is, as we said last class, of what, everyone? The shafa'ah of the kuffar is unacceptable. Of Allah, who is pleased with their statement and their actions. And Allah is not pleased with the statements and the actions of what? Of the people of kufr and shirk. He's not pleased with them. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So the shafa'ah that is negated in the book of Allah is that shafa'ah that's sought from other than Allah. And secondly, what, everyone? The shafa'ah of the what? The kuffar. You with me, Kaden? Jay. طيب تفضل شيخ يعني. We said before also the shafa'ah is mutawatir. It's an affair that's been what? Mutawatir. What's mutawatir, everyone? It's to the point where it's too many narrations of the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm going to say a profound statement by Anas ibn Malik. I wanted to read to everyone. Listen to the statement by Anas ibn Malik, radiyallahu anhu, in which the great Imam, in which we studied from his book, Ash-Shari'ah, by Abu Bakr al-Ajurri, rahimahullah. Listen to the statement. So Abu Bakr al-Ajurri wrote in this tremendous book called Shari'ah, a book called Bab Wujub al-Iman bil-Shafa'ah. The chapter, the obligation of having belief in the intercession. Until he said at the end of it. So after he brought all the texts in the books, all the texts that we just said and more. Then he goes on to say, بطلت حجة من كذب بالشفاعة الويل له إن لم يتوب. Listen to what Abu Bakr al-Ajurri said, rahimahullah. He says that it's been nullified, the hujjah who denies the shafa'ah. He said, woe to him if he doesn't make tawbah. Woe to him. Listen what he goes on to say. Then he brought an isnad upon Anas ibn Malik, the great Sahabi. Listen to what he goes on to say. That he says that Anas ibn Malik says this. Listen to this tremendous statement. Anas ibn Malik. من كذب بالشفاعة فليس له فيها نصيب. Allahu Akbar. That Imam, Anas ibn Malik, said, whoever rejects the belief in the shafa'ah, he will have no portion in it. He will have no portion in it. Until Al-Hafid ibn Hajar and also the great Imam Sa'id ibn Mansur also likewise said that the isnad is sahih on the authority of Anas ibn Malik, just Al-Hafid ibn Hajar mentioned in Al-Fath al-Bari. So whoever rejects the shafa'ah, he will have no portion in it. So who rejects it? Who was he talking about? He was refuting the other deviant sects, who are the Mu'tazila and the Khawarij. As I told everyone before. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب, we'll stop here. We'll continue. Friday is the it might be Wednesday. I'll let everyone know, inshallah. It might be next Wednesday. Might. I'll keep everyone informed. We'll stop here. طيب. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت. أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions about the lesson? تفضل.